Hey guys, as we are approaching the end of the year, we want to let you know some of the things we've been able to accomplish this year at WallBuilders. A lot of programs that we've been able to get involved and work with students, work with teachers, work with pastors, actually work with state legislators, work with congressmen and senators to help get them equipped for obviously some of the cultural battles that we are fighting and dealing with right now. So we want to give you just kind of an update of stuff going on. So looking big picture over the year, all the things that we have traditionally done, some for several years, some for literally decades, we've seen growth significantly in a lot of those areas. And actually, let's start with state legislators, because right now, in the midst of some of these states having crazy shutdowns or different mandates or whatever the case is, there's a lot of people who are recognizing that that's not the way government should work. That's not what my state should be doing, or my mayor or some unelected health official is requiring or mandating or whatever the case is. And so we're seeing a lot of people be very concerned with what's happening in their state. Well, every year we have a state legislators conference, and this was the largest conference we've ever had. As far as how many state legislators actually attended, over the years we've developed a network that we probably have worked with more than 1,000 state legislators.
Yeah, there's probably 1,000 active state legislators. We communicate with about 4,000. There's about 7,500 legislators statewide over all the 50 states. So we communicate with about half of them, but actively there's about 1,000. This year's conference was the biggest ever. And it was interesting because we always look ahead and try to say, what are 12, 14, 15 things these guys might face next year? How do we equip them for that? And so based on what happened with COVID last year and so much unconstitutional taking of so many things by governors who take over systems and et cetera, these guys really came prepared. And so we have seen dozens and dozens of measures passed this year just based on last year's conference. And then this year was a very, very active conference. These guys are looking for stuff to do. And I can say, I don't think in my modern lifetime that we've seen such a desire to go back to constitutional policies and such an aggressiveness on the part of state legislators to stand up and say, wait a minute, there is federalism in our Constitution. There is a federal level and a state level and a local level, and we're going to defend that. So it was a really good conference this year.
Yeah, really highlighting a lot of the basic fundamentals of the Bill of Rights and what should be protected and what state officials, they can't violate these basic principles of the Bill of Rights or a separation of powers or the 10th Amendment. And so really a lot of good stuff working with state legislators. And so we definitely saw some things already this year. We expect to see a lot more this coming year. But it's not just the people that we've worked with. I think generally a lot of people around the nation are waking up to recognize some of these problems. And certainly one of the problems that have been very well highlighted over the last couple months is if you look at some of these public school districts and some of what's happening from school boards and certainly the teaching of critical race theory, which is just historically so ridiculous. It's very anti-biblical on so many foundational levels, but also looking at different curriculums, the sex ed curriculum or the 1619 project, so many problems in the educational system. And in the midst of that, we've actually seen people running for school board and saw a lot of great victories in school board races. We actually were able to help in several states.
That's right.
We're helping recruit and activate people to get involved in school boards.
And part of that too is we're actually helping pastors understand that this is part of your responsibility. It's your community. It's your kids in those schools. You need to get involved. And so even at the end of the year, we had a 42-city tour in 12 states with pastors' conferences showing pastors, hey, here's what you can do in the local area. And the way that pastors showed up even in Virginia, and you heard about the Virginia election results, what those pastors did was absolutely amazing. You look over in Colorado and literally hundreds of good candidates running for school boards there. It's amazing to see across the nation the changes that happen. And so we've been able to help share that message and help see people get involved as a result.
And those are specifically states that we were involved in, and that's part of why we mentioned those states. There was others as well, but the point is we are seeing people who want to get involved, want to be activated. In fact, if you're watching right now, I encourage you, get involved in the process, right? Be part of the solution. Part of what we've done to help provide solutions on this as well in the educational realm is every summer we do teachers conferences. And this summer our teachers conferences were completely full, and we had hundreds of teachers on the waiting list. And working with teachers, helping just show them some of the true history of America to be able to combat the 1619 project and things like critical race theory and why that's so historically inaccurate. And really, it's a retwisting of agenda, or it's really agenda-driven history is what it is, but it's a retwisting of historic, what they want to be fact, but it's not factual at all. Anyway, we've been able to work with teachers, showing them from original documents, introducing them to actual history and heroes, things that most of them didn't know. And we had this summer a lot of professors, so a lot of universities that now have professors that are better equipped, so many public schools and actually superintendents and principals and just from all over the nation. So we've been able to get involved with that. We've also done a lot of stuff with students. So people who are actually in high school, who are in college, every summer we do programs specifically working with high school students, working with college students. They come in for a couple weeks at a time oftentimes, and as they do, we're able to really give them a download of a lot of history and equip them to go back to their university having a foundation to stand on. And when a professor or even their peers say something ridiculous, knowing how to engage in that conversation, how to ask some basic questions, knowing where to look for truth, how to pursue truth, and know, is this something that's real or is this just agenda being driven again? So much we've done, even pastors' conferences.
It's interesting, even with the young people, they get back home and the parents say, they're completely different. What'd you do? I want that. And so literally this year we started family seminars where the parents of many of these kids that were in the Summer Institute came in, and by the hundreds we have these parents come in, and it's about 14 hours of historical instruction the parents get, because this is not stuff that they got in their schools either. And so it's really, we've seen a growth of that, and so that's one of the things that we think will really continue to grow next year, even larger. We tried them this year to see what happened, and they were really well received. Waiting lists were really long, so we'll grow that even more next year.
And we've also done a lot of stuff with pastors, working in really basically every state in the nation, helping encourage and engage pastors. We've done virtual conferences. We've been in a lot of in-person conferences. So there's just a lot of stuff that we have done. In the midst of this also, we've worked with congressmen, we worked with U.S. senators, U.S. representatives for battles happening in the nation right now for the heart and soul of America. So we've been on the front line of so many of these areas, and certainly at the end of the year, a lot of people are considering who do we want to support, or maybe, right, there's a tax-deductible donation we want to make. We'd encourage you to check out WallBuilders.com if you're looking for somebody who's trying to make a cultural difference in this nation, restoring constitutional principles, promoting biblical values. We're an organization on the front line doing a lot of that. So we'd encourage you to go to WallBuilders.com to find out more about us, and there's a donate button there. If you want to consider making an end-of-the-year donation, we'd greatly appreciate it, because we're going to keep fighting these battles that God's called us to.